Sasa uzawe ubu ukuvuga ngo
What's going on? What's the question? What?
Did you ask something?
I want to know how much is going on this platform because I was
say absent. So now it's better to know what's going now.
I think the organizers probably let us know. I mean, in general, it's about DePIN in Africa, like a meetup, and
Yes.
it's organized by DAO, basically. You see the logo on the top, on the bottom right, and let's see. I hope we start soon.
Yes, good. Okay, on screen I see we are welcome to DePIN Africa Meetup 1. So, okay,
Yes, you're one of the first movers. Very nice.
okay. But you are not talking what is going on. So, they are still waiting you.
I mean, I think it's also a physical event, yeah? So we are online, but I think it's mixed. It's like physical and virtual. And I guess they're still preparing, or they have like some things going on there on the physical side. So let's wait.
Yes, let us wait, no problem. So, thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Is it possible to turn it up? The sound that we hear, the noise.
Yeah, it's
It should be able to turn up because this is not a normal sound.
yeah.
You can just remove it with microphones.
Yeah, once we start, we connect again, but let's move it for now. Yeah. Mungu da sa kuma intromos.
Hello?
increase the volume. Gerageza uvuge turebe.
Hello. You hear me? Hello, G.
Okay, it's okay. Okay, so
Where is the girl with the tech person?
He's just, I don't know where he's from.
he's sitting there.
Niyo urahindura ukuntu twanga none dufite ya picture wahindura bakajya kuri slide.
Hano ntabwo biri kugaragara neza kuri YouTube.
Is it possible to fix it?
This one. It's very strong.
No. Okay, that's fine.
I can't hear myself now. Ariko neza kumuhagaze hano ngo numvikane.
Ntabwo byari byagera aho ngaho ngira ngo.
Yes. During the program, you know, through YouTube, they can hear the sound.
Oh yeah.
Free. Even on YouTube Live, they can hear the sound.
Can you mute on their side so they're not disturbed by this sound for now?
Okay.
So this sound is really messing things up because they don't hear us talking, and online they also hear only the sound.
Yeah. That's the problem.
Is there maybe a simple speaker, nothing that we can use? Oh, no, it's not.
I disconnected.
He deployed.
Okay, try to use that and see if they can hear us.
Okay.
Can hear you very well. It was very good right now.
Okay, Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, it's perfect now.
Okay. So we're going to be using his sound like that.
Okay.
And after, when Mark is here, we will reach him and maybe there will be repetition of the sound when Mark is talking. But yeah, Mark is just 3 minutes.
Okay, so they will be able to hear now.
Or I can have this mic onto Mark's. Mark, can you say something? Where's the mic?
Hello, hello. Test, test. Test, test. Test, test.
Is it here?
Oh.
Is this your speaker?
Hear me?
No, that's not your speaker.
Oh,
I
hello?
can take a mic there if it would be better.
Let's try again.
Where is your speaker?
Where is it?
So continue making a test. Continue making a test. Let's
Test, test. Test, test. Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay.
Test, test.
I don't know where your speaker is, man.
I don't also know.
Or connect
Yes,
the
I
mic to the
think
phone.
online they hear me, I guess.
Connect your phone to this, and then have the mic close to the phone. You're online, right?
Yeah,
You're
I'm
on the
online.
Google.
I'm on
Yeah,
Google.
so
I can maybe when he speaks, I can use
yeah,
my.
let's try to see
Let
to
me
use
try
the
to
phone
see.
of the mic.
Join.
We're trying to connect with another speaker than the one that is here. The one in the room doesn't work well. So we're gonna start in a bit, just fixing some technical issue. We need to start now.
So Mark, now please can you say something?
Yes. Test, test. Test. Hello? Hello?
Doesn't work.
This is a bit going to be having the.
Yeah, one of you needs to be muted. Like, yeah, I think then. I hope you can hear me.
That's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, good. That's getting better. Perfect. Okay, so I guess we'll do this way. Let's get started.
I think Sam, it's about if the audience can hear me, like physically.
Maybe
Okay, good.
and maybe put the mic away a bit.
Not
so
virtually.
we cannot have the echo sound.
Yeah.
I'll mute this.
Okay, now I think we are good to go now.
Yeah, if you have a second
We have
mic,
another
that's
mic
good.
to use for 3D.
The problem is we need to pin him on the screen
Mm-hmm.
when it's time to speak.
I will tell you. When you're going to prepare that, there's will be on the slide. So
Okay, great.
So yes, 2 mics will be great because 1 mic is enough.
Now you can use this.
let's get started. I know we said people will come late, but let's not wait.
For the Q&A, it was a core Microsoft.
Okay. Shall we?
Yeah.
Invite people to sit maybe, not to be afraid.
Hello, Joe.
Check again.
Mine is not. Okay, now. Okay, now, should I know the side? Placing. It's just a bit placing. Okay,
And there is a second mic?
basically,
Yes, you can use this.
welcome everyone. We're going to be starting, although some people are not here, but we'll be starting and they can't be a bit. So sorry for being late because we had some people who were late also, but now I take this opportunity to welcome you to DePIN Africa Meetup. And let me first introduce myself a bit. My name is Asaf Chusa, and I'm a Web3 developer based here in Rwanda. And I'll be happy to host you here. And I'm a part of the DAO, and we're going to be on it later. So welcome to the first meetup here in Kigali Digital Transformation Center. So, and here is our today's agenda. So I think we are on this already. We have first have the introduction, and the second we're going to have the first talk about the unlocking blockchain potential in Africa, but particularly about decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And now the third talk will be about harnessing Web3 as force for good with DePIN. And the fourth on our agenda will be about DePIN. Now we'll bring the DePIN locally to Rwanda. I'm going to see how it's going to empower the tech ambitions we have here in Rwanda. And we're going to have the mini ICT representative who's not here yet. And lastly, we're going to have the networking. And some information. Many of you can be sitting like some in front so that the people who are late are the ones to sit behind. But for you, early birds, you can be having come in front if it's comfortable with you. And the second, there is water to drink. So if you need water, you can go there behind. You have a cup and you drink water with it. But the fun fact about the cup, you keep the cup because it's what you're going to be using later for the juice. And so let's now be on this. That's the information. And yeah, let me first introduce you to our DAO. Introduction. First of all, what is a DAO? So here is a very simple example of what you can use to explain what is a DAO. And this example says like this. Imagine a club with a special rule book. And instead of having the president, the manager, they make decisions together as a team. And here is how it's going to be working for the example of a DAO. So the first, everyone has a say. So anyone in the club can propose ideas and vote on what clubs should do. So there is no one who's taking like the decisions. Everyone in the club has a say and is going to make votes on how the club should use its money and how it should run things, organize meetups and everything. And the second, special coins for voting. So these club members may be having the special coins, and in blockchain we call them tokens. And when they join, you get the coins. And the more coins you get, the more weight your vote has. So that's another second element of the DAO. And the third, we have the clear rules enforced automatically. So the club will be following a set of rules written into a special computer program, and it enforces the rules and makes sure everything is fair and transparent. so everyone can see what's happening. This club is what we can call decentralized autonomous organization, and it's a way people are going to be working together without needing a single leader in charge. And now, people who are organizing this event is called DAO, and it's double A this time. Stands for DePIN African Autonomous Organization, and we are also a decentralized autonomous organization, and that's ours. And the thing that makes that we are an autonomous organization which is decentralized is that we make decisions together in our team. And a DAO, decentralized, we have no single leader. We also take decisions together as a team, and we are autonomous so that we follow the rules we agree on. So, but for us, it's a bit different from the DAO I was telling you. We have no like a token we built on top. We just a community-driven team. And we decide together through voting, operate transparently, and work towards the shared goals. So that's what our DAO is. And currently, we have 14 members, and 2 of us are in Kigali, Rwanda. Me, Asaf Yusa, and I'll introduce you to another DAO member here in Kigali. So let's introduce you to the first speaker of today, who is going to be a DAO member. He's called Eugene Desire Nzengu, and he's going to be here for the first talk. So he's going to be introducing himself a bit, and he will be also having to explain how to unlock the blockchain potential in Africa. So this is time for this.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well? Right. Like last time, for those who were present during the meetup we had about CBDC, I'm going to ask you to take 5 minutes to stretch out a bit, because I want you to wake up, to be active, and take it as your daily routine. All right? Okay, let's get off a bit. It's okay. No one's going to make fun of you. So, a little bit of stretching. Okay? Alright, so there are show also an example. So let's maybe stretch a bit the hand and the feet. And because everybody does the umaganda, right? So let's consider that this is part of it. A healthy mind in a healthy body. Now let's switch. Everybody see the ladies as well back then? Okay. If I'm not afraid to look ridiculous, you shouldn't be afraid to look ridiculous. Now the head. Okay. It's good to also do on the side, because if you only do straight, you're not going to be all stretched. Don't worry, it's almost finished. And now, let's do the shoulders. Because we sit, we work on computers, we code, and we don't move enough our body. Now, the other way around. Good. One that looks a bit more ridiculous, but is good for your hips. Especially when you go dancing on Friday evening. Alright, the other way around. Okay, I see the ladies see me also, that's good. Now one where most people are not capable of doing, but it's okay. Try to touch your feet. Yeah, it's been a while since you did that. But it's good for your back, and it's good for your hips. Good. Alright. So, now let's get started. When we planned to organize that, Kusa and I and a few others, we were actually thinking that even 5 people would be enough. Because what matters is to start discussing concretely of what decentralized physical infrastructure networks are. And I've been part of many meetups and many activities on blockchain in the country and outside. And the fact is that we talk a lot about blockchain, but not that many are actually doing something about it. And if there is one mission that I'm giving to myself, is to try to go beyond the basic educational stage, the policy making, which is important, but it's just the first step until building something on top of it. We're lucky to have in the audience a few blockchain layers. Maybe some of you know what it is, maybe some don't. But imagine that it's a bit like a pie or a pizza, and you have different layers. You have the ground layer, layer 1 or layer 0, some people would say, which is the main infrastructure. Bitcoin, for example, is one of them. Ethereum is another one. And then you have the layer 2 on top of it. And you have the decentralized application, or smart contracts, and some other application focused. Here in Rwanda, we have actually not only the layer 1, but you also have layer 2. And we have people who use cryptocurrencies, and we have people who build decentralized applications. What most of them have in common, however, is that they're not building it with a focus on the local markets. Because either you like the developers, or you like the people who have the knowledge, or you like the funding, or you like the use. I mean, the use cases, that's the thing. There are plenty. We could be using decentralized infrastructure on the blockchain for energy trading, energy distribution, for healthcare, digital identity, for, of course, transaction and payments, because that's what most people think about when they think about blockchain. That it's Bitcoin, it's scam, it's only cryptocurrencies, only criminals use it. There is nothing as far away as what it really is, and that's why we're here. And we don't need to be hundreds or thousands of people to do that. We just need to be 5, 10, but you really know very well what they're talking about, so that you can, in your turn, talk to other people about what it really is. And I'm not here talking about something to believe in. This is not about religion, it's not about sect, it's about technology, and about what technology can do for you in real life. And that's what we're going to try to do here with DePIN.
Excuse me,
I was also new to this, but then reading it, I realized that this is not new. This has been around for many, many years. I mean, well, many, many years, 5 years, 7 years, but in technology lifespan, 5 and 7 years is an eternity. The name DePIN, however, is relatively new, maybe 1, 2 years old. But what it does has been around for a long time. So let's put aside the purely cryptocurrency financial transaction aspects, which is still very important, but here is just yet another application of what blockchain can do for you, for us, and maybe for the community in Africa if you focus on Rwanda. I'm gonna now start my slides, and maybe using even the mouse if I manage to use it. Let me see. I think I'm gonna have to stay here and use it this way. All right. Do you see? Okay. So, first and foremost, can you raise your hands if you have even a basic knowledge of what blockchain is? Please, don't be shy. You've already done some stretching here. Everybody saw you. So you can raise your hand and tell me, do you know what blockchain is? Anybody here who has the gut to say that? Yes, please, Mike. One who's not afraid, please follow his example. What blockchain is? How can you explain to us in simple terms what blockchain is?
Yeah, actually, in simple words, blockchain came to replace the traditional database storage and introduced the saving of data on blocks that are on the chain. It has also some how do I say, some features like it doesn't have the owner, or it is immutable to other things. Just a few words.
Good. You wanted to say something also, please? I heard that you had some work.
I would say in simple words, like blockchain is a decentralized storage where no one has the control on it, and it is very difficult to change it, to change the data stored, because you cannot change the where the data is stored on every device.
That's definitely a simple and concrete definition of what blockchain is. Thanks for that. And I guess for the record, you two are tech people, so that's how you remember the data storage aspect of the blockchain. Why does this matter, that it is immutable? Some people would say that, well, I want to change the data on my database the same way on my PHP or cloud server, database, I want to be able to edit it if I made mistakes. It works in some contexts, but in applications where you want your data to remain unchanged, tamper-proof, because of security reasons, because maybe of some sensitivity of data you have there, you don't want anybody to be able to change it, then this is why this immutable aspect is important. The fact that it is distributed, decentralized, makes that even if the network is attacked, because we live in times of hacking and cybersecurity concerns, and networks are prime victims of cyber attacks. They can be internet networks, they can be physical networks, they can be any kind of networks. When you have a centralized infrastructure, then if one main computer or server is put down, the whole infrastructure is possibly compromised. While for a decentralized infrastructure, you can put down one node on this network, but you will have redundancy, meaning you will have copies or other network participants who will be able to maintain the computation. And to make that an example, my computer is down, my other network participant computers, as long as they're not down, then this will continue working. Main example, of course, is Bitcoin, but then you have most of the blockchain nowadays are following the same structure. And this can have very important implications. If you want your city to be powered by electricity 24/7, you don't want that if there is storm or earthquake or whatever natural disaster, and some elements of the infrastructure is put down, everybody in the country loses electricity. That's the same thing for this network. And the beauty is that these existing infrastructures, the physical ones, today can even leverage the power of decentralized technology, the aspect of immutability, higher level of security, the fact that they are available on mobile phone more and more, because most of you are on WhatsApp, on TikTok, and some other social media on your mobile phone. So what if you'll be able also to rent a car, move, or Uber, or whatever delivery car directly on your phone, but working in a way where you also can be rewarded by being part of this network. Because by lending your hardware, you contribute to the strength and the continuity of this network. There are many examples that I'll be presenting here, but wanting to put you in the context. And by the way, for deeper discussions about what blockchain is and the crypto and so on, there is this QR code that you can scan. It takes the material I created a while ago. It's not perfect, but it's a good starting point, and we can discuss this later on. But here, I want us really to focus on DePIN. But in a nutshell, part of the basis of what blockchain is, and I'm trying not to spend too much time on this, even though it's like learning to ride a bicycle. You first need to walk, and then to have right balance, to test a bit maybe on a tricycle or even on a bicycle with 4 wheels, and then you can cycle in 2 wheels. Here you need to understand the basics of what blockchain is. Maybe if you're curious, you might want to know a bit about the history as well behind, because it's good to zoom out and to realize that this is not new. We're talking about it today, but it's been actually around for many decades. It's just that it took a few very critical key innovations along the way to make it what it is today. And some of the things that already existed back then that have been improved are the aspect of blocks, for example, where you have a series of blocks, each of them having a specific set of data that are attached to each other every time there is a transaction. Data like the header of the block, metadata of the block, transaction. You can transact a token. A token, by the way, is a digital asset that can represent the value of whatever you want it to represent. It can be a photo of a cat. It can be Mona Lisa painting. It can be local handcrafts. It can be currencies. So it depends really on the applications. So you do a transaction from peer-to-peer, so from one member of the network to another, and this transaction is recorded on this block. And then the block 1 is chained to the block 2, and you also perform some cryptographic techniques along the way to ensure the security and the privacy of this transaction. And this is actually a process that when you put it side by side of this series of blocks, you end up having a chain of block, where this blockchain world came from. You can dive in details and also dive into the cryptographic aspects, and I'm not going to do that here, don't worry. But you have something called Merkle rules. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's from the 70s or the 80s. The person actually created it still exists. I think it's Mr. Merkel or whatever. It's a teacher in the US. I'm not even sure actually that every time there is a blockchain transaction or a crypto transaction, he gets a fee of this. If we would have done that in the business way, as we, for good or bad today do, he would have asked every time there is a transaction on the blockchain, I want to get, let's say, 0.5% of the fees. I mean, this is a meta specific. This is the best way for you to be sure that you, your children, and the children of your children is going to be rewarded every time there is a transaction. But then maybe the research will not gone as far. Because some people build things just for the sake of building it, and they do it for common goods. And that's what he contributed for. I mentioned the hash, that's a cryptographic aspect that hides the specific details of the transaction. When you do a financial payment, you don't want everybody to know what you sent, who is the person you're sending it to, and maybe even that it's you who has sent it. The same way, some transactions, many transactions, just don't need to be put to the public. What you can see, however, publicly on the public blockchain, as the structure of this one is showing, distributed ledger, is that every transaction will be visible for people to look at. They can go, for example, where it's a Bitcoin transaction to a Bitcoin scan, or where it's Ethereum transaction, we have something called eTscan, and you can see physically every transaction that has been made. But you won't see the name of the people who did that. You will see just the identifier represented by a hash. So all of these things are to ensure that there is trust embedded in these networks. And if there was a trust, people wouldn't believe in it, and they wouldn't use it anymore. The same way we need to believe in currencies to use it. We believe in a Rwanda franc to use it, in euros, in dollars. It's not because they've got this trust from the start. It's because people gave trust to it, and over time we started using it, and we started giving it more trust. And this network effect is what is contributing to the strength of these networks. You have different architecture, centralized, decentralized, public, private, and a mix of both, which is consortium blockchain. And all of this, just so you know, can cover weeks, months, years of research and studies, which is not what we're going to do today, but I just wanted to expose you to what is there. Our focus here is on decentralized blockchain or decentralized application, and whether it's public or private, that's a secondary aspect. What matters is that it connects to the real infrastructure. I was discussing a few minutes ago with some blockchain members of some layers. As I mentioned, blockchain, think of it as a pizza, a pie, or a hamburger. I know we're going to eat after, by the way, so if you're hungry now, it's normal. They are often built at the level of code, so it's about software. What is specific about DePIN is that it connects to the physical infrastructure, so to the hardware part. And for anybody here who has built before a hardware startup, maybe an IoT startup, or whatever, something physical, they know it is hard, it is expensive, and it is even harder to get people to use it and to get investors to invest in it. Which is why there are very few companies that have been capable to bring together blockchain software and hardware. But those who've done that, or those who are doing that, including our guest speaker in a little bit, they managed, or they are managing today to solve some of the most challenging problems that we can encounter. I mentioned earlier energy distribution, obviously, because we are lucky in Rwanda to have electricity mostly 24/7, but we know as well that outside of Kigali, it might not be the case everywhere. When you fly, you might see from the window that Kigali is the most highlighted, the most light. And even though there is light in secondary cities, it doesn't mean that every household has electricity. And today we assume that because we can connect our mobile phone to electricity and go on WhatsApp or learn on YouTube and so on easily, in Kigali this is the case in the whole country, but it is not. I'm not going to get into the economics of it, but if you know that 70% more or less of the whole population does not live or work in Kigali, that shows you the potential of what it will be if we will be using, for example, this technology on existing infrastructure, say electricity, or some other aspects to then provide this digital access to the bigger population. Some other aspects beyond the basic needs of electricity or water could be a bit more, I would say, not sophisticated, but modern or futuristic. I'm going to actually show straight here one or two of the use cases that we want to dive in. We hear about climate change, green transition. We see, of course, the effects of rain, drought on the country, on the landscape. We know that the country, for example, is working on replanting forests, expanding the area of gorillas for their habitat. We know when it rains that some neighborhoods are actually facing erosion. And even though decisions are made outside of Rwanda or outside of the continent even, when it comes to direction given to climate change mitigation and adaptation, we're the first to face the consequences. So considering these facts, and considering the limitations of the existing infrastructure, because they are expensive, because they are heavy, because they cost a lot to fix and so on, how can we use the existing infrastructure connected with technologies like decentralized applications, like blockchain, like token and so on, to try to come to the best of both worlds. Let me give you an example. That company, Wihi, that's a very fun name, but I think the founder is going to tell us the story behind it, is using community-driven insights, so me, you, everybody here, sharing information related to climate and weather to provide even more accurate or granular weather intelligence, so that in turn, decision makers, organizations, public, private, individuals can make decisions accordingly, not relying anymore only on centralized systems or on information coming from one or two main actors, which we trust, by the way. But wouldn't you like having a bigger distributed network of sources of data that can fine-tune the model so that when there are events happening, you can react in a more timely way? What's the aspect of blockchain behind it? Well, the community-driven aspect is what's connected to the blockchain. You and your mobile device or your computer can be part of this network, providing this information, and you can be rewarded if you share that info. Reward can come in many terms. It can come in terms of the pride that you would have to have contributed to solving a critical challenge of your community. It can come also in material or financial reward, but it depends on the regulatory framework, obviously. You can gain coupon or points, just like when we used to play video games when we were kids, for those who did that. We played, we gained points every time we passed a new level, and that just drove us to continue until we won the game or we lost. Think about it this way. On the coin, another main actor in this ecosystem is going even deeper in the connection with the physical infrastructure. It's actually an organization that came from physical infrastructure, satellite and space technology, satellite communication and space technology, providing geopositioning for mobile devices, for IoT devices, for robots, drones, you name it. Because maybe some of you do not know, but when you have a robotic device or a hardware that you want to locate in a space, you need to have accurate positioning if you want that physical assets to evolve in space in a correct way. Meaning that you want to know that this, let's say a drone, in the case of Rwanda, we have a drone company, so we know, I'm going to take that example. You want that drone to be able to go straight, avoid maybe the trees, and to go directly from Kigali to Rwanda, for example, in a reliable, predictable fashion. And there are different tools within that role that enables it. You have the GPS or GNSS receiver to take the signal from satellites and to position it in the space in a way that can be traceable. You have something called IMU at the level of the hardware itself. You have many other devices just to make sure that the trajectory will be reliable. What I'm doing is to go from this heavy background of space technology and geopositioning, coming from and then setting up the problem, which is we do not have at the scale of the globe accurate positioning data that can enable us to move on to the fourth industrial revolution, for example. If we want to have autonomous tractor that will be working in the countryside, helping people working manually, complementing the human work, we need to have increased connectivity. And this increased connectivity can be provided by different means. You have something called LoRaWAN, or LoRa, a wide wireless network at low range. You have Wi-Fi, obviously, 4G, 5G, LTE, but it's costly. You have satellites nowadays. You all heard about SpaceX, Starlink. By the way, these companies are expanding activities in Africa. Why, would you wonder? Because they see a potential in providing these increased connectivities that the existing infrastructure cannot provide. So, starting from this problem statement, we need increased connectivity to move on to the fourth industrial revolution, to have autonomous robots in the farming, to have some other autonomous or robotic devices that will be helping us on a regular basis. But we cannot do that with the existing solutions we have. What I'm proposing is to build this increased connectivity mapping by connecting these high accuracy positioning devices called RTK devices. I'm not going to get into details here, but if you have questions afterward, we can dive into it. So you have the hardware. You put the hardware on the map by connecting it to a network. You therefore put, let's say, Rwanda in that case, on the positioning map where you see not only the countries that are already part of this network, but also the device that you will have actually on the field operating and contributing to this shared connectivity. By sharing your position through the hardware that you're operating, you can also be rewarded. And this reward, again, can come in many ways. And this, again, depends on regulatory framework. But in any case, because this can contribute to solving some critical issues that we're already facing, I think that the rewards can even be secondary. There won't be a second Bitcoin, there won't be a second Ethereum, but there can be some token or some reward that can go beyond this by really solving some critical issues. Now, by the way, how am I going for time? How is it? Good? 6 minutes. Okay, I'm going to accelerate a bit so that we stay in timing. I mentioned here the different applications that you can do with that solution, from robot mower, machine control. Oh yeah, I like that part because maybe I haven't mentioned, but I'm also a space consultant, so I work in the space industry, and Earth observation data is something that I'm very much interested in because it basically adds an extra layer of data that you can use for supercharging your machine learning model or your blockchain dApps. You can have data about earthquake warning, and we are in the volcano region, so we know about earthquake. Surveying and mapping, obviously, meteorology, weather forecast, and many other applications. Now, the mapping. You will hear about different companies in the DePIN ecosystem. The main or most famous ones are often repeated and mentioned in many meetups and discussions. Without naming them, you have Helium, you have IoTex. Great products, absolutely. Nevertheless, I don't know, do you notice something here? Does anybody of you here notice something on this mapping? I like that this just is so boldly and so clearly established. And the fun thing, which is not very fun, but it's kind of a reality, if you take Africa, and you take Latin America, and you take Asia in big parts, you actually have 3 to 4/5 of the whole world population that is not really covered by any of these big networks. The why it's like that, I don't know, and to be honest, I don't really care, because that's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is what are those who are actually trying to cover or working on covering these parts where we're based, and that can actually help us in solving many other problems that digitalization and increased connectivity could be contributing. And that's actually what they're doing. They will be speaking a bit more about it, but for me, this is the main rationale. I'm technology agnostic, I'm company agnostic, I like tech, and I'll be using whatever tech that solves problems that I care about. And if there is a provider or an organization or a network that does try to cover an area where I was born and raised, or that I know is facing some of the biggest challenges, like, again, cliche but fact, climate change and mitigation and adaptation, then I'll be working with them first, because it shows that there is care, that there is focus, that Africa is not a side focus. And it's not just for the business aspect. It's because if you start building a network in this part of the world, then when the time will come to become a successful and bigger company, you'll have already built the partnerships, you'll have already delivered on the ground so that the trust will have been established. Trust is not just on the blockchain, it's also on the people to people. I wanted to actually mention this briefly because I think it's important. I might spend a bit of time more than the talk, but since I'm asking the question interactively, I think it's also fair enough to speak a bit longer. This is from one of these providers, but what they did basically is just to map out the general process. And each general process can be extended to the whole Web3, so the next step of internet ecosystem. It's like the Web3 version of the sharing economy, where you have kind of a platform business that can apply to either real estate, because we have some real estate people in the group, or to blockchain in general for any kind of transaction, whether they are financial payments or they are tokenization of some digital assets. An example that might be speaking to one of you here, because we use the Moto, we use the Move. You are a user, seeker. We need to have Moto or Move to take you at home after having spent some good time at sundown after Friday evening. And you want to, and the owner of that Moto is on the other side. You can go either directly on WhatsApp or mobile phone, as we all do, and calling that person because someone knows someone give good prices. Or maybe there is an app, Decentralized app, or whatever, maybe a smart contract, that is operating on the platform. And that platform will be receiving a request. The owner of that asset, whether it's a car, a motor, or an apartment, or energy solution like extra solar panel kilowatts that you don't know what to do, he will send that to that platform, he or she will send that to that platform. Payment can be done. It doesn't have to be financial payment, by the way. I'm again mentioning this depends on the regulatory framework, but you can exchange in many ways. Back in the days, we call it in French, Cori. It's like a shell that without the value that you want it to have. Today, you can exchange services, you can exchange gifts, you can exchange cars, whatever you want to exchange. That's up to you. But you exchange something. And then you can even customize your interaction based on your recommendation. This is the sharing economy, but instead of doing that on the Web2 technology that we have today, which centralization, by the way, I'm not against, it has great advantages. The cloud platform solutions we have today have very high level of security, they are very competent, but I do not feel I'm actually a co-owner of them. And while every month I'm spending to use them, I'm not getting anything in return in terms of rewards or incentives. And sometimes they might decide that, you're based in a country that I don't really like, I'm going to just cut your service. Or you want to use my service, but you're not based where I want you to be. So you're going to have to do so many you work around to be able to use these platforms. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Some exchange here, for example, do not allow transactions to be happening here. So you sometimes have to go around and to find. It's complicated, and it doesn't have to be this way. If there were not problems, you will need to find works around. So how about building an ecosystem where you can do this in all the legality and compliance there is, and fine-tune to your needs? If I will be Martin Luther King, I'll be saying I have a dream, but I think the dream is happening. It's just a matter of time. And it's concrete. It's not just about selling or crypto or whatnot. It's really about solving real problems. And this ecosystem that I'm showing here exists. It hasn't been created by us. It might not be operating here, but it is happening anyway. So rather than being the consumer and the user of existing technologies that might be fine-tuned to problems that might not be specific to yours or sufficiently locally relevant, how about bringing your company, your applications, your solution to your challenge on this map, so that the next version of the Messari report, Messari being one of the main technology information providers, I mean, they do a report that is read by the whole community every year. There will be some solutions that are specific to problems that can speak to you. And maybe companies that have been built and homegrown here, and maybe will even be able to be exported outside of the continent. I really believe that at some point there will be technology solutions built and made here that will be solving global problems. Now, to conclude briefly, it's a list. There are many use cases where you can implement DePIN on, of course, water management, public service delivery, infrastructure and funding, and so on. But I want to also show it's a bit like a redundant slide because I'm talking about it here as well. Supply chain management. We see the prices of the goods we're buying in the market going up and down. There is a bit, of course, of the currency exchange, but there is also part of it which is the cost of supply chain. We don't have access to the sea. When we rely on third party, they can put any extra amounts that they don't want to because you're dependent on it. You can decentralize it, and this is what we're presenting here. All the details can be discussed after this event, and we hope to create a community from this event, by the way, where we'll be diving into some specific use cases. And if there is a goal I give to myself and to my colleagues, is that at the end of the year, maybe, who knows, let's be crazy, we could have 2 or 3 companies that are actually solving specific problems on existing solutions at the low to no cost in the minimum amount of time. And I think it's possible. We have, by the way, smart meters everywhere for the energy distribution. We just need to put these smart meters on a distributed network, and we have actually a DePIN for energy. The same will work with water, the same will work with weather and climate data forecast. The same will work with operating robots on farm fields. Now, I'm gonna pause here and ask, let's go straight to the question, I think, because here are what we are planning to do: skill development, being transparent and accountable for what we're doing. But I would like to give the floor now to you and to see how would you like to contribute to it, if any way. What would you like to know more of what I mentioned here? As you've seen, I haven't shown any code here because this was not about coding, but behind all of this are applications that you can build. You don't need to be a blockchain developer, even though it might help. You don't need to be perfect coders or an engineer or whatnot, because the good thing is that most of the components already exist out there. And innovation can happen in many ways. You can put these different pieces together and customize them for your needs. You can start them from scratch if there is no solution that meets your needs. So I'm going to open the floor to you. Any question? Any maybe personal experience? Any challenges that you can foresee could be tackled by that technology? And don't be shy again. Otherwise, we can continue discussion online. But I think it's always nice person to interact in a more interactive way. Yes, please.
Sorry, I came late, but I'm interested in, really always interested in blockchain. So, and I want to ask, how can one start immediately? I want to be involved. How do I start? Resources or?
Thank you. That's, I guess, the basics that I could or should have started with. You have Blockchain Rwanda Association that exists. And under it are other organizations like Africa Blockchain Institutes that I'm also part of, while being part of Blockchain Rwanda Association. We do organize educational activities. Think of blockchain basics training, in person and online. You have the WhatsApp groups where you can interact, network, connect one-on-one or through the group. You have some incubation programs also happening yearly. And then for more targeted activities, then it's on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes there are some projects that are relevant to the Rwandan vision, for example, maybe about land management or about digital identity and so on. And there is maybe a policy framework that has been set. Then we can discuss these details, how to connect the technology supplier, the developers, the decision makers, and turning the theory into actual projects. So that's personally what drives me most, is to go beyond one side of the basics in blockchain, is to apply that into actual use cases. Have I answered your question?
Yes.
For the groups, at least that's the easiest that I can share with you after this call, the WhatsApp group, and then for all the details, I can put you in touch with the organizers of these activities, and then we can take it from there. Any other question?
I'm Ramba, and I'm passionate about technology. I'm sorry I'm late. It's hard to ask a question when you don't know what they talk about, but there are many interesting parts of this technology. And I just want to say, okay, my passion is real estate and technology, as you know very well. And when I saw all this, I saw that it's wow, we have everything. And this is my question: what we need to make this happen? For example, let's be specific. In Rwanda, we know we have maybe how many million? More than 13 million, right? And we have more than 11 million land title. Above that, we know if we go fruit. Now the market of avocado, in Rwanda we have the capacity to, I don't know, to produce. This is data. We know how many Rwandese who can do what we need to plant avocado. And I go beyond real estate. When you look, every day in Rwanda we have investor. On another side we have what they call Kavuche, you know, the owner of the land is 11 million, who say, okay, we need someone to do something here. But in between, we miss all this, like smart contracts, this geolocation, and what really miss that to make that happen, because the other thing we really to make it happen, what we miss to make it happen.
That's a very practical and concrete use case. Tokenization applied in real estate, for example, and that will be how to tokenize real world assets. In this case, for example, if you think of avocado manufacturing, or there is lands and you would like to find ways to increase its value and to, for everyone, not just for the promoter and so on. There is the wheel first. So either the promoter, the buyer, the legal people in between would need to identify how could this be better? Better meaning maybe cheaper, faster, less procedural, less complicated. It's good to have rules and to have contracts and so on, but maybe sometimes these contracts will need to take 3 months to be set. Or maybe sometimes it can be done cheaper. So you can use what is called smart contracts that you mentioned to automate this process. Every time a task, let's say by an engineering bureau, will be executed, there will be a small contract that will be created, a contract literally between the buyer, the recipient, or the buyer and the customer and the provider, and the payments to that engineering bureau will be done automatically. Because there is also another problem that you might not have mentioned, but I know it's a big issue in business-to-business activities or B2C. Paying the service of people. They are paid late often, and it takes a long time for them to get the full amount. So you can automate the payments using smart contracts by automating this process. Maybe legal people or the administrative person will not be very happy, but you can also make them part of this process by empowering them to use it. On the example of the real estate, when you have a land of let's say 1-2 hectares, and we know nowadays that if you compartment it, you can have increased value. How about having a pool of potential users, buyers, customers, who will be pooling together resources, automating it on smart contracts, tokenizing the physical assets by linking the square meters, for example, to a value as a token on the blockchain or maybe off-chain, and bridging the dots. So on the platform, as I mentioned earlier, the sharing economy, you have these transactions. I want to procure or to acquire X amount of square meters of that building or that land, and this happens automatically in an immutable way if you want to do it on a specific blockchain. So that the contract is set, written on the stone, if I can say it this way. The transaction can be done through traditional channels, fiat currency, the central banks, and so on. But the automation process, the IT process, digitalization, can be happening on the blockchain. There are many use cases, so the why it's not happening today, because that's the main question. I'm sorry I spent too much time on the process. Lack of resources, human, first of all, I think, to build the smart contract. But luckily, we're growing. There are more and more blockchain coming to the country, and people developing the skills. The private capital that will be willing to invest in these unknown or a bit risky technologies that they don't really understand much. The beauty is that they don't even need to know that this is on the blockchain, because at the end of the day, customers don't care if it's happening on the blockchain or on a traditional centralized database. They just need it to be delivered. The regulatory framework to at least open some sandbox where this kind of testing could be operated. It's happening in Hong Kong, in Nigeria to some extent, in South Africa, in the US. It can happen also in Rwanda. I'm sure we want to be the first in this, and we will be the first maybe in this. I've answered your question, or is there anything else?
But really, I don't understand why that. Okay, I understand it's the process.
Yeah.
We need many involvement, but why there is nothing happening with that?
That's just my guess. But at the moment, knowing that we have nowadays the developers capable of doing this, the blockchain layers capable of operating this, the use cases where we know it's becoming more and more expensive to acquire land and houses in Rwanda. So tokenization could help. I think fear is immaterial. It's something psychological. But if, as I heard recently, there has been many scams and use cases of blockchain and cryptos that push away traditional, typical users to give a chance to blockchain, it's very hard then to take away that fear. I think the best way to do it would be to educate what we're trying to do here, to show some real cases that are actually functioning, that are making a difference, and that one person, that one organization, maybe yours, who knows, that will be implementing that technology in a real use case, in a way that functions, so that more people will follow afterwards. I think I'm going to stop here. If you have any other question, let's keep it for later, I think, because I'll be here anyway, and we're going to have a small drink after, and I would like to give the room for our next panelist. Thank you very much, and let's stay in touch.
So a big thanks to him.
That was a great session. So the thing now is, yeah. So you can. Our next panelist will be online He's called Mark Valandis, and he's the co-founder. At some use cases we saw, he's the co-founder at Onokoi and Wi-Fi. So he's going to be having a depth of DePIN, and he chosen this title for his presentation, Harnessing Web3 as Force for Good with DePIN. So Mark, this will be your time, and
yes.
I prefer you muting because you have.
Yes. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. If not, please interrupt me. Yeah, you pronounced my surname really well. Like I don't know, like where you got from. Usually everyone does it wrong. So like, thank you very much. Yes, like I'm with Wi-Fi and Onokoi, and basically like briefly my background. So I have some computer science background, did a PhD in crypto economics. So like these blockchain systems. So like on a more fundamental level. And since 2.5 years now, I'm also more on the practical end. And what I would like to show in this presentation is a little bit that the concepts which were so nicely introduced by Desiree, that there's also some foundation to it, and it really makes sense. And yeah, so like if there would be a question, you can just post it here, maybe in the comments. I will see it. I have it in front of me, and I can also interact with them, or you interrupt me. Yeah, so feel free to do so. Otherwise, let's go into the depths of DePIN, these decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And just like my entry to the topic, I have not seen like who's sitting in the audience, but as far as I understood, not everyone is even aware of blockchain. So, and now we're talking about DePIN, which is like kind of a subset of this blockchain industry. But within this blockchain industry, like DePIN is also like a new or emerging vertical. So there are a lot of other things happening, like a lot of financial products, for example, being built on blockchain. But since a year now, we have this new narrative of decentralized physical infrastructure networks. We have at the moment over 500 projects already building these different types of infrastructures, and 2 of them are basically Onokoi and Wi-Fi. And what are these decentralized physical infrastructure networks? So we have already seen by Desiree, like basically these are projects who try to cover the world with infrastructure. And what they do, they actually use crypto economics to do so. Yeah, so they use these token incentives. We'll see later a little bit about it, like decentralized governance. Desiree has talked already a little bit about it, about DAOs, like decentralized autonomous organizations. But these projects, they also often use this immutability of the distributed ledger, of this data store where people can put things inside, which we call blockchain. And then there's some other properties. And basically, these projects, what they do, they plug in different components of these primitives, and then they build these infrastructure networks. And Helium is like one of the largest examples here. They already went into partnerships also with basically with industrial companies like T-Mobile. And so like basically DePIN is there, and I think it's about to stay also. And it's trending, so like we're still early. So I think you listening to this like is already like you're like one of the first movers, and at least within the Web3 blockchain world, it's already a term, and I think very slow. Very like slowly like we're coming out, because like these physical infrastructures, they're touching the real world. Yeah, so like it's really like crypto going out, and that's what we're observing at the moment. So what are these decentralized physical infrastructure networks? So what are these DePINs? So, and actually you can describe them as these 3-sided platforms. So you can have on the one hand infrastructure providers, so people building or contributing infrastructure. Then you have like people who kind of do a service. They use the infrastructure and they build a service out of it. And then you have customers who basically they consume this service, the infrastructure users. That's like how you can conceptualize such a decentralized physical infrastructure network. And to make it a little bit more concrete, I will give you an example, a real-world example. So basically, one can, for example, take the weather industry, or like weather predictions, weather data, so like everything around it. So like I think we saw in the recent years that like kind of weather is becoming more and more unpredictable, at least in some regions. And so what is currently the problem in this weather industry? So like the problem is that you have a lot of different data sources, yeah, which are collected by different parties. So you have like these meteorological organizations who have their own weather stations and they collect weather data. But you also have hobbyists, yeah, like kind of people who do it out of a hobby. You have private companies, and you also have regions where actually not much data is collected, yeah, where basically this coverage of weather data is not so well done. And then you have experts who kind of they try to do forecasts on top of this data, but often they don't have access to the right data, or they don't work together. It's like kind of a competition, competitive environment. And these experts, they very often, they work for universities or they work for these meteorological organizations. They don't really have the expertise to monetize the work. Yeah, so, and usually it's paid by taxpayers. And because of this, there's like a lot of inefficiencies and not the best products are being built, which customers could consume in the end. Okay, and this basically where we see, for example, YHI, like one of these two projects I'm representing, what we are solving here. So basically, we are incentivizing people and everybody, like from governments and meteorological organizations to individuals like you in the audience, to basically place these weather stations and contribute this weather station data to us. And for this, you receive tokens. I will show you later an example. Then we have like experts, like machine learning experts, like different parties who use this data to do forecasts on top of the data, which we then make available to customers and intelligence services. And we are a Web3 project. We use open hardware. So basically any weather station device which is out there can stream data to us, and we're community owned. So like the basic philosophy is that those who provide data to the network or who contribute services, they also own a piece of the platform. And that's basically facilitated by this blockchain technology. I will give you some hints like how we do it in the next slides. Okay, so, but community owned. Yes, like DJ was already talking about it, like DAOs and community. And basically in Web3, a lot of things are about community. So like usually these are community-driven initiatives. From the software world, you can think of open source software projects, yeah, so kind of a loose association of different individuals who are kind of bound by, bound together by a mission. And when you look now like on DAOs and like how basically what one tries to do is basically you try to have a community which comes together, which are kind of autonomous and decentralized, but together they're attempting to accomplish something. So kind of have a vision. And for this, very often you need an organizational structure, because like if you don't have an organization, then it's just a community, which can also be very chaotic. And in the end, if you want to build infrastructure, you need to also, at least what I observe, to have some organization. But the problem is like if you have too much organization, kind of these intrinsically motivated community members who really want to contribute, kind of with too much organization, you kind of hinder it. Yeah, and there's like a famous quote I always like to say, like from Daniel Ospina, who basically said like a sense of community brings trust and well-being, yeah, which enable better organization. And an effective organization can enable value flows that sustain community. Yeah, so like, and then basically both together, if done right, you have like these powerful anti-fragile organizations which can be very resistant and to changes, like if the environment is changing a lot, so like kind of they can be very powerful and also efficient. And so how do we do this in Onocoin, but also in YHI? So like we have like how do we use an organizational structure to enable the community? And basically, we have such a onion mental framework. So we have the public. So basically, before you joined this event, you were the public and you didn't know anything about us. And now you joined this event, and you kind of started following us. So you're listening at the moment to me, yeah. But you could start becoming a friend. So like kind of starting interacting with me, with others, like from the inner layers of this onion. And if you're motivated and you want to do more, you can support the vision, yeah, and become a supporter. Supporters who contribute more work become contributors, and eventually core team members if everything works out, like for both parties. And the core team itself is more or less self-organized. So like very flat hierarchies, or not even at all any hierarchies. And basically they organize themselves and then in these competence areas, and then basically it goes out again to the outer circles. That's like how we try to enable these, this organizational structure. And as I said, if you would like to become a friend, feel free to join our Discord and to say hi there, and start interacting with us. And we also soon launch our supporter calls. We can learn more, like in how you could contribute if you want. Okay, so like the idea of these organization structures basically to create these self-organizing systems. So I could talk hours of them about them. Like I'm coming from this complexity science perspective. You can think of like a bird swarm. Yeah, so like, and this is like kind of what they're trying to build. And but there are also like really real world, hard facts why this makes sense, because like what these DePINs are doing, we're trying to build these global infrastructures, like cross-country, different parties involved, these three sides of the platform, and basically to control such a network top-down is very complicated, and I would say even not possible. Yeah, so like you need huge operational costs are involved if you want to build such a global network in a top-down way. You have different legislations, different rules in every country. If you want to have maintenance work and someone goes, for example, to such a weather station and repairs it, like if you want to manage this in all these countries, it becomes quite a huge operational endeavor. And when you use such a decentralized structure, which is more driven by the community, you can actually reduce these operational costs a lot. And that's, I think, also a very practical reason why this makes sense. Okay, and then the second aspects that we heard, like tokens. So in blockchain, we talk about tokens, and actually how you can see them as a coordination tool. It's basically they coordinate people by having a token or many of these tokens, maybe several. Basically, you align people in a community together behind the vision, and then if the token is well designed, by people using this token, you basically put forward the mission of the vision of the project. So I will not go here into the details, but they're like different token models. But the reason actually for these models are that in the end, they reduce, in DePIN at least, the capital expenditure costs. So for example, in Unocoin, I think we calculated at some point to build the infrastructure top down, we would need like 70 to 80 million euros, which you need to invest upfront. Yeah, and you cannot really do this. Yeah, so like, and because you cannot do it, but in very many regions, this infrastructure is not built. And by using tokens, actually, you can incentivize people to kind of crowdsource these investment costs. And it's like what makes it very, very powerful. So how does it look like? For example, one token model, what is used in Unocoin, like it's a 2-token model. I mean, probably like for many people now, it becomes very technical. I will just make it quick, but there's also like a paper on it, and Urosh has a lot of different works which you can check out with this regard. So like there's like some science behind, you can say, some crypto economics, so to say. But what we do in Unocoin, we have like this 2-token model, like one token here, and here's another token. And the idea is that the one token behaves more or less like money. Yeah, and basically we are like operating this conservative industry. So basically, this is basically what the industry, the customers are seeing, like this fiat-pegged token, which is like more like dollar or like euro, something like that, or like a shilling. And on the other hand, you have Ono, which is more on this crypto end, blockchain end, like a token which can appreciate in value, which can be traded, and which people who contribute data to the network can actually obtain. So those who work, they get this token, and then they can use this token to access the governance of the system, so kind of control it also. And that's like not talking about more, because I think I probably lost already some of you. If there are questions, we can discuss, or you can just interrupt, as I said. And if someone has interest in this and to learn more, let me know. Okay, and here I just wanted to highlight these two things. But so why, like, what I think, like, why DePIN is very promising. I think it's like kind of it can be, if it's designed well, like really be a force for good. I think so. Like these DAO principles, you can actually enable people to co-own such an infrastructure. Yeah, so like and actually also to co-create it. Yeah, so we see in many parts of the world infrastructures failing or not even being present. Yeah, so not even ever having been put in place. And by using this co-ownership, you can actually let people co-own it. So like kind of get the revenues. So it can be a means of coming out of poverty, or like kind of a way to meaningfully contribute to society and be part of also of the value chain. And by co-creation, so like using the local knowledge of the people in these different regions, can actually optimize and adapt the system to local needs, which I think makes it in the end very efficient, but also sustainable. And overall, you build these resilient infrastructure because it's decentralized. You cannot just destroy it or spoil it. So like it's really adapting. And I think out of this perspective, it's very promising also for, I think for the African region, like in the first hand to build this infrastructure, but also giving people a meaningful part in it. I think it can be very promising if done right. Of course, you can also design these systems that say more top-down or more controlled, but at least the tools are present to do it in a decentralized and fair manner, I think. And with that, I come to an end. So like, please ask questions or comments, and feel also free to reach out to me anytime, and I can follow up with some more information if something resonated with you. Thank you very much.
Yes, I have a question. Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Let's assume I live in East Africa. How could I contribute to Wi-Fi and this weather forecast network?
I mean, they're like different levels. You can get a weather station, like some of them are by now quite cheap and contribute data. But what we're also looking at is actually more like on this service side of this three-sided market, like people actually supporting the development, or being, maybe you know something about AI, or you are good in data analysis, so you can contribute on this end. But also when it comes to like other tasks, like maintaining the documentation of these things. And I think what, for example, also Unocore is like thinking already a lot. I think at Wi-Fi we're not that far yet, but Unocore is also like on this customer end. I think Africa as a market is like not much explored. But on the other hand, also the demand is often not there yet. And I see people, I don't know, like I don't really have good overview of the audience, but starting building products which kind of are useful for the local markets, but using kind of these new technologies, which come, I think also with makes it basically cheaper to build these products, would be really nice. So like having kind of a force or like a active community who tries to push forward product development, or like a need. This, like, I think something which can be done. What's your thought, Samuel?
No, thank you very much. This was basically already the question I was, or the answer I was expecting. Is it easiest to just reach out to you through email or Discord?
Whatever people feel more comfortable. I think in general, crypto lives very much on Discord, but I think not everyone is used to it, and I'm also always happy about an email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I hope we have not lost the people who are physical present. I hope so. Like I will stop the presentation now.
Thank you. And now we're coming to Rwanda. DePIN is going to be empowering realistic ambitions. And as you know, what are the people in the ICT hub in Africa, and to reach that, they need to have people who to have innovative ideas, innovative tech ideas to achieve it. And so that's where we came. So empowering Rwanda technicians means DP. And Rwanda vision began working with the early African ICT hub to be filled by many cities across the world. So it's now moving from different landscape of how technology is created. So it's very good. How the government works, like non-government prioritizes ICT development through some initiatives. We have those games, university, national strategy, everything. We have the ICT spaces for the innovators. We have places, career center, and everything. So Rwanda has programs, they have fundamental, they have everything someone who wants to be innovative need and to have to pitch his ideas and put his ideas into mind. And there's also okay, there's also the next. Okay. After that, we have the high level of penetration, like almost everyone in Rwanda has the access to mobile phones. There are companies, material, we have these small phones, and everything that makes everyone easy for him to have a mobile phone. Like, it's a very important part because Airtel works, they are fully out of now, the post 20K. And at first, initially, we break okay, you pay like something like 1,500 every month to anti-game. So that's very cheap for someone to have a mobile phone. And that mobile phone, we have more like 24G coverage. Like Mango claims we have a coverage of 98% of the country with 4G internet. So in Rwanda, we have some, we have the debt government focus, we have like internet, we have devices, and skilled workforce because there's also a lot of big talent, been 655 years, because some people who are foreigners in Africa come in Rwanda, they see everything is innovative, they see how some things are like done by some things are in other countries but made by foreigners and reach the countries. But starting there about the tech talent, Rwanda is really on a good space. So, but there is challenges here, and that's what I want to address and where new thing will be coming in. So there are some things which are, and as we are running out of time, let me focus on the education investment. Infrastructure. There are some infrastructure we need to use because there are some areas that have been like not electricity as of now, and to put like infrastructure in the asset space, there is high investment. To invest in infrastructure initially is very expensive and it's going to be either in some rapid growth in some rural areas. And that's where we are going to be into because the strategy solution DPN can bridge the gap between power and air conditioning in Israel. They can have like a enhanced connectivity. We can have technologies like solar microgrid and to maybe empower this electricity in rural areas, DPN would be very possible like using solar microgrids. And the no tech company will be required to come behind it. Whenever you have a given, many people, the people in the area, can maybe start contributing tokens, they start some invest in infrastructure, and it's not going to be expensive because there's no one community trying to invest. Like the community is trying to invest all together, and they have the topic all together. Because let's say in when the people in the rural area have electricity, the investment is made by the state company, and they now have investing infrastructure. Like everyone in the community contributes money to start infrastructure, and add more tokens they have, is going to have the impact and profits from that started infrastructure. So You can see people, easy because we encourage end users to invest because they know they can have the return on investment. And the second thing is much more easier because they don't have any commitment to be with a single company as everyone can contribute and now start to push this to so rural areas because as we decentralize in this infrastructure, there can also be
until this is not clarified, all the steps, as I said, in the real estate process can then be automated, and this can start already
from now. We agree the land is worth this much, and you quote is worth this much, and we do the tokenization. We do on a traditional notary. I'm sure within 10 minutes we find one here, and because I think we need to start to change the narratives. In Rwanda, I think we always in this configuration that maybe a Chinese is coming, we put ties everywhere. And I think now is the time. Why I mention this, because I believe there are many programmers in this room. They be going somewhere else because we have whatever you need. Okay, I'm sure that there is this part of the bureaucracy part we don't have control of. But with the experience that I have in the ecosystem, I can provide the land, I can provide many aspects, and we go traditionally to the notary until the government, we convince the government, because it's good to say you can do this, you can do that, but I think the government needs to see also the step of the people who are crazy who have done it. And this is what I need.
I think this sounds like an invitation, because you have the problem statement, you have the use case, there are the technology people here. Even for the land data or the climate data and so on, we even have the partners who've been pitching here. So most of these technology components are together. But yes, indeed, and maybe it's the right time now to give the floor to our representative here and to give us at least the view from their standpoint, what can and cannot be, and let's start building where it is possible to start building.
Thank you. I'm here wearing like only one hat. I was invited by the COP blockchain. I wanted but really to even give it some flavor. I think there is even a law that has changed with land. The land law has changed. Like whenever you're going to transact land, and there is a fee there is a threshold that you have to. If there is a certain fee that you have to give to the government. 2.5%. And what's the common practice is that people actually, if they know they're going to transact between themselves, they will forge the price to not be able to even pay. I even think there's an incentive on the government side to start exploring those things, I believe. The second thing is, I don't see, if as you mentioned it as your use case, you said like, I have land, I have people who are willing to buy. How can I think it was, I don't know if I'm right, I'm wrong, but I think we wanted to see like, on the technical point of view, how do you start? How can you start? What are the processes? But maybe even just to complement on these things, I think there are a lot of processes that need to be really decentralized, or at least to, like the smart hungary, where people are being given fertilizers by the government, subsidies of fertilizers by the government. So there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's some shortcomings when it comes to giving this to the local government. Sometimes there are people who misuse that fertilizers, not putting it where it should be, yet they sell it, how do they call it, under the counter. So I believe some of these innovative approaches, especially with blockchain, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Maybe what we can argue right now is that we don't have the sufficient pool of talent to start working on that. But again, with this community, I think the sky is the limit. So thank you.
Quick comment I want to represent Rwanda. For example, real estate is a bit sophisticated because to have a good real estate project, you need a good lawyer. you need a good architect, you need like a team of 100 talent. And the weakness of African economy is we're not incentivized to focus to do what we does best. For example, assume I'm a lawyer, you do a lawyer, you have a small supermarket, you have like 5 business. You not be good in anything. But me doing a real estate project with a bad contract, I will be losing too much money because you know the reality of the cost of school fees, the cost of life in Kigali. You need to be like a multitasking, and I think us being multitasking make us weaker. You're not good in law. You can be good if you focus to do law. And the advantage of technology, you can be secure about in the future, because that was the why I'm saying this. I was trying to, this ecosystem since long time. There was a time I tried to convince a good engineer to draw a nice house. He said, okay, I can draw it. What is the guarantee if the owner of the house sell it, how will he pay me? And this what make me, for example, now DePIN is a new stuff that I learned here today, and tomorrow we'll be having another stuff. But at the end is why I start to ask myself, we should continue to learn this good word, or we should start from today that at least someone here can say, I can do the smart contract. After when I go to the architect campus, I say, at least you have a smart contract. It's not legal yet, but at least I have someone please who has done put you drawing, and at least we can, in 1 or 3 years, we can have something that is operating. We need to know also, like, it's you cannot plant a seed and you have avocado. It's everything take its time.
I think I don't need maybe the mic. This is my elder brother, so I don't want to keep moving him around. So I think this is the first step. Is really to create a kind of a community practice, to see people who are enthusiastic about this, and from there, at the Ministry of ICT point of view, that's when, as you say, you can even start something that's maybe it's not legal yet, but maybe under the framework of sandbox. And that's how we start even creating sandbox around these kind of use cases. We'll be like, okay, fine, there's something that is happening, let's put it under the framework of a sandbox where they can, try on some limitation, try to explore the real world utilizing this technology. And then from there, we even create policies around that. But that's that's the stage that right now, like we're trying now to adopt that kind of practice, or that kind of innovation, that kind of technology within the mainstream world, right? But nevertheless, I really agree with you that we should be more action oriented. Let's maybe even if maybe the community here starts with a couple of big use cases and try them out, and yeah, we come here next time we have like something. Okay, we be like, okay, there was we've disrupted a process that was happening like this. Now we've been using DePIN. Now we've disrupted it in this way. Look what we can do, and then from there, I think it sparks even decision makers, politicians as well, to really act on this technology and even to promote it. But what I know is that some of this technology is very new, and another thing is the capacity building part. Maybe that also goes to the organizers of DePIN. I want to hear more. Maybe they spoke about it when I was not here, about their projection with our young people, the universities, with how are they going to approach them, what is the plan?
Thank you. Any more closing remarks? I have a couple of comments to make, but I'll let you start. Okay. You're going to present the plan, right? But first of all, thanks for being here. At least I can see it on my side already. Stay put because there is some refreshment and snacks that have been kindly provided by our partners. On my side, I will say that first of all, I appreciate the interaction and some real use cases that we hope can turn into actual proof of concept in pilots. I haven't heard what has the project become. Probably didn't go as planned, but now that we've tried and tested and seen what works and what doesn't, maybe it's time to give a chance to homegrown solution with, of course, technologies that exist already out there, partners that have the capability and capacity to take us to the next step, but following local agenda. I'm planning to have a few calls with some startups from Nigeria because that's the only country from my small market research that I've seen being implemented in real life, large scale. I mean, it's a country of several 100 million people, so that's quite a massive market. Some real DePIN projects. One company is implementing decentralized energy storage. We have everything here. We have the big box, we have the smart meters, we have the decentralized community because we have small patches of populations spread around the country. So we have the perfect setting for that. If the policy framework and the sandbox will be allowing to accommodate this project, we'll be able to start already tomorrow, testing and building and scaling up. So I want to learn from them how they're doing and then implementing it here. Another company that has actually started way before the big American companies that I presented earlier in wireless sharing is another Nigerian company. These guys are impressive in terms of creativity and hustling. And they could have become global leader today. They started before the pandemic, but what has made that they did not grow as fast as their American counterparts was lack of investment, not believing enough in what they were doing, thinking that the artists are crazy, weirdo, or trying to steal my data. Their idea was to share your Wi-Fi hotspot from your mobile device and being paid for that. This was before the word DePIN was even a word. And if we would have believed what they were doing back then, today we wouldn't be speaking about Silicon Valley's company, we would be speaking about Lagos, Cape Town, Kigali startup. So it's great that we're doing what we're doing and educating people and testing, learning. I'm really looking forward to go to the next step because the capacity is here. We've got partners out there. We have hopefully the blessing of the local authorities in doing things that are compliant and legal and that are not about scam. It's about using the technology for solving real life problems. So I will stop here and leave the last word for Kigali.
But there was no implementation. There were some blockchain meetups here. There was a lot of them, but we've not. It's crazy. We did our hackathons, like 2 of them, maybe here, but we have no single running them that has already started. So, yeah, as you said, we're going to be running from those who are already starting, like Nigeria and everywhere, the use case. But yeah, just stay tuned in the channel. I think we have good plans and you like it. So it's the time. Victor is our representative from the Ministry of ICT and Innovation, and he may give like a final comment before we close and go to the networking.
Thank you. As you've seen, this is a nascent initiative, and that's why they brought me a small caliber person to represent the ministry. But nevertheless, everything has a way of starting, and I think the last blockchain and Desiree was also there. There was a blockchain community of practice last time, and there was a presenter from RISA, Dr. Rene, said that he regrets having participated among the pioneers on cryptocurrency, I think. I think this is another wave that we shouldn't miss. We shouldn't miss this bus, by the way. Decentralized infrastructure is going to, I think it's going to take over at some point. It's just a matter of time. You can see everything. Myself, even a use case, very simple use case. I think I had an old Gmail account that I used to use to comment, but you know that I was commenting. Sometimes when you're commenting on social media, you can even see that, like, because you've linked it to the Gmail and everything. So all of a sudden I was like, oh, so what if some of the comments, if someone makes bad comments, they can easily track them to their Gmails. You can see like how centralized platforms are becoming obsolete in this going forward world. So meaning that the Web3, I've seen the presentation that talk about Web3, all these things are coming up, and I'm very happy to see young people taking really the matters into their hands. On top of that, as I mentioned, the process is very simple. We are going to be participating with always DSSD. We see communities of practice as actually a better mode or a better approach of creating policies. We start with community of practices, see what is going on, then create policies around their needs and their aspirations, rather than just looking into X country that has a policy and then copy paste, thinking that something will happen. So this approach is best, and we try to invite you, the technologists, to really take this thing into your hand. And as my friend was talking about, like, it's been here for some time, and we should be now more action oriented. And of course, the use cases are endless. So we want to thank you on behalf of the ministry. Hopefully next time will be more, and someone of a higher caliber than me will be representing the ministry. So thank you.
So to close, before I give you some message, let's first give thanks to all everyone here. The co-founder of Morocco and Waiha, they were very supportive, the DTC for the infrastructure, the Rwanda ICT, of giving us like the representative, the RISA, and Techinika for the streaming. It was very excellent. And we do have to take a picture of all of us before we go to networking. So everyone can stand up, come here in front, and let's take a picture of everybody.
Alright, photo everyone, and then we can go and have a look. Thanks for your contribution. Good, you're shooting things up. Let us know when it's ready. Thank you.
So everyone, you may go to that panel and take a juice or snacks.
Is there someone organized?
Yeah. Mike. Okay.
sorry to cut you.